Have you ever met anyone who dreams of getting to the end of their life with a lot of regrets? A lot of would've, could've, should'ves? Of course not. No one dreams of one day sitting at death's door and thinking, I would have done that, but I could have done that, but I should have done that, but. So it begs the question, how do you and I live in such a way today that we can avoid someday sitting with regrets of would've, could've, should'ves? I want to share two things, focusing on time and focusing on the journey, not just the destination. Recently, we had Larry Osborne, a prolific speaker, author, a leader. He's written over 10 books about leadership and discipleship. And in the discussion with Larry, he and I were talking about the power of human choice and how it's really a double-edged sword. There's been a lot of beauty historically that's come out of the fact that humans can choose our destinies, can make our destinies in a lot of ways. But, double-edged sword, there's also been a lot of pain, death, and destruction because of that. But in my discussion with Larry Osborne, he broke everything down, the complexity of human choice, into one simple, concise phrase. Larry simply said this: what is the right thing for you to do today? Focus on time. I want you to imagine for a moment that your life is represented by this sand timer. And you can recognize that all the sand that's piling up at the bottom represents your past. Some of us, I'm in my 50s now, I have a larger pile of sand down there than some of you perhaps do. The sand on the top represents your future. And some of you may look at that and go, well, I have a lot more sand up there than Pat because I'm in my 50s. Maybe you're in your 20s or 30s. The truth is, you and I actually don't know how much we have up top there. Here's what we can control. We can't change this, and we don't know how much we have this. The only thing we know is what's right here in the middle, the sand in the middle. So let me show you how this works. When should I start? Now, remember, this is the past. You can't control what you've done in the past. You can't control all the times you've quit. You can't control all the times you've put off starting. The sand on top represents the future. You may go, well, I'll start next week, or I'll start next month, or I'll start next year. But you actually don't know whether you have next week or next month or next year. The only thing that you and I can control is the sand in the middle. So when should you start? Right now. Today. Focus on time, but focus on the journey, not just the destination. We've all probably heard the principle, start with the end in mind. In other words, what are your goals? What are your dreams? Who do you want to become? One of the best ways that I've actually heard to live this out, live with the end in mind, is to imagine that you're in your casket at your funeral and you hear those people coming up and standing in front of your casket and saying just a couple of sentences. What would you want them to say about you? What do you want your spouse to say about you? What do you want your kids to say about you? What do you want your friends and coworkers to say about you? What do you want God to say about you in that moment? It's one of the best ways I've ever heard about learning and figuring out and identifying how you can live with the end in mind. Live in such a way that people will say the things at your funeral that you want them to say. But let me just caution us. As good as that sounds to live with the end in mind, some of us, especially those of us that are so goal-oriented, need to slow down a little bit. We need to pause, and we need to remember to enjoy the journey, not just the destination. Because remember, if this represents your life, you can't change the past. You don't know how much time you have in the future. The only thing you can control is the sand in the middle. And so I caution some of us that are so goal-oriented that we're living up here all the time to step down here and enjoy the journey. Let me summarize all of this by a mantra, a phrase that my wife and I started to use with each other and to ourselves several years ago. We started to remind each other, live in the moment. Listen, I know you've heard this before. But please, 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 please hear me. You can't change what's down here. You don't know what you have up there. All you have is right now, this moment. Live in the moment.